Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat, and today we're going over a $20 mono black commander deck with Shirei as our commander. Shirei, Shizo's Caretaker for 4 and a black, is a 2/2 spirit. Whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if Shirei, Shizo's Caretaker, is still on the battlefield. It is important that at the latest we sacrifice our creatures at the second main step, because this trigger is at the next end step. So I would recommend you say, before we go to the end step, I'm going to sacrifice these creatures. Remember, we can do this on our turn or our opponent's turn. As for the mana rocks, we're going to start with Mind Stone for 2 colorless. We can tap it to add a colorless, or we can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice Mind Stone, and draw a card. Unstable Obelisk for 3 colorless. We can tap it to add a colorless, or we can pay 7, sacrifice Unstable Obelisk, and destroy target permanent. Hedron Archive for 4 colorless. We can tap it to add 2 colorless, or we can pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, and draw 2 cards. As for the ramp in the deck, let's talk about Pilgrim's Eye for 3 colorless. It's a 1/1 Thopter with flying. When Pilgrim's Eye enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Skittering Surveyor for 3 colorless is a 1/2 construct that when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. If we want to draw a card, it's going to be coming from our creatures. Dusk Legion Zealot for 1 and a black is a 1/1 Vampire Soldier. When he enters the battlefield, we draw a card and we lose 1 life. Smothering Abomination for 2 black is a 4/3 Eldrazi that has Devoid, Flying, and at the beginning of our upkeep, we're going to sacrifice a creature. Whenever we, keyword, sacrifice a creature, we're going to draw a card. So they can't just die, they have to be sacrificed. For one of our non-creature spells, Read the Bones is 2 and a black. It's a sorcery where we get to scry 2, draw 2, and lose 2 life. Underworld Connections for 1 and 2 black is an enchantment aura where we enchant a land and we can tap it to pay 1 life, we draw a card. Grim Haruspex for 2 and a black is a 3/2 human wizard with morph for 1 black. But more importantly, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. This card does not specify that we have to sacrifice our creatures, it's just when they die. Sign in Blood for 2 black is a sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Altar's Reap for 1 and a black is an instant, and as an additional cost we need to sacrifice a creature, we get to draw 2 cards. Harvester of Souls for 4 and 2 black is a 5/5 demon with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. So if our opponent's creatures die, we can draw a card. Mindless Automaton for 4 colorless is a 0/0 construct that enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters. We can remove 2 +1/+1 counters to draw a card, and this will kill him. Midnight Reaper for 2 and a black is a 3/2 zombie knight. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Skyscanner for 3 colorless is a 1/1 Thopter with flying, but more importantly, when he enters the battlefield, draw a card. Bankrupt in Blood for 1 and a black, and as an additional cost, we have to sacrifice 2 creatures, we get to draw 3 cards. Costly Plunder for 1 and a black. As an additional cost, we're going to sacrifice an artifact or a creature, and we get to draw 2 cards. As for the removal of the deck, let's start with Tragic Slip for 1 black. It's an instant where target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. It also has Morbid, where that creature gets -13/-13 until end of turn instead if a creature died this turn. And that's going to be very likely with our deck since we're going to be sacrificing all of our creatures. Doomblade for 1 and a black is an instant, destroy target non-black creature. Eliminate the Competition for 4 and a black. As an additional cost, we're going to sacrifice our creatures to destroy X target creatures. Bone Splinters for 1 black. As an additional cost, we're going to sacrifice a creature to destroy target creature. Drag to the Underworld for 2 and 2 black is an instant where it costs X less to cast, where X is our devotion to black. Destroy target creature. Spark Harvest for 1 black is a sorcery. As an additional cost, we can sacrifice a creature or pay 3 and a black. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. So without our commander, we won't be doing much, so we're going to need to protect him. Mask of Avacyn for 2 colorless is an artifact equipment where equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has hexproof. Cloak and Dagger for 2 colorless is a tribal artifact rogue equipment where equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has shroud. Mirror Shield for 2 colorless is an artifact equipment where equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has hexproof. And whenever a creature with Death Touch blocks or becomes blocked by this creature, destroy that creature. Now this deck is very focused on power 1 or less creatures, so let's get right into it. Blood Pet for 1 black is a 1/1 Thrall. We can sacrifice it to add 1 black to our mana pool. Perilous Mirror for 2 colorless is a 1/1 mirror that when it dies it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Big Game Hunter for 1 and 2 black is a 1/1 human rebel assassin. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated, or we can pay its madness cost for 1 black. Battle Gnomes for 3 colorless is a 1/3 gnome. We can sacrifice it and gain 3 life. Bone Shredder for 2 and a black is a 1/1 minion that has flying and echo for 2 and a black. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. Abyssal Gatekeeper for 1 and a black is a 1/1 horror that when it dies, each player sacrifices a creature. Burglar Rat for 1 and a black is a 1/1 rat that when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Death Greeter for 1 black is a 1/1 human shaman. When another creature dies, you may gain 1 life. Doom Dissenter for 1 and a black is a 1/1 human that when it dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Tattered Mummy for 1 and a black is a 1/2 zombie jackal that when it dies, each opponent loses 2 life. Yarok's Fenlurker for 2 black is a 1/1 horror that when it enters the battlefield, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. Cabal Therapist for 1 black is a 1/1 horror with menace. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, choose a non-land card name, then target player reveals their hand and discards all cards with that name. Cadaver Imp for 1 and 2 black is a 1/1 imp with flying. When he enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Fume Spitter for 1 black is a 1/1 horror. We can sacrifice it to put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. So how are we going to abuse our commander's ability of bringing back our power 1 or less creatures? Well, we're going to need a lot of sack outlets. Starting with Mind Slash for 1 and 2 black is an enchantment. Pay a black, sacrifice a creature, target opponent reveals his or her hand, choose a card from it. That player discards that card. Play this ability only any time you could play a sorcery. Vampiric Rites for 1 black is an enchantment where we pay 1 and a black, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life, and draw a card. Fallen Ideal for 2 and a black is an enchantment aura where we enchant a creature, an enchanted creature has flying, and sacrifice a creature, this creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. When Fallen Ideal is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return Fallen Ideal to its owner's hand. So we will have an ongoing sack outlet if this ever is destroyed. Bloodthrone Vampire for 1 and a black is a 1/1 vampire where we can sacrifice a creature and Bloodthrone Vampire gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Carrion Feeder for 1 black is a 1/1 zombie. He can't block, but we can sacrifice a creature and put a +1/+1 counter on Carrion Feeder. Sling Gang Lieutenant for 3 and a black is a 1/1 goblin. When he enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Sacrifice a goblin, target player loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. What's really cool about this card is that he is also a goblin. We can sacrifice him and the other 2 goblins he makes, and at the next end step we can get them all back again. Plagued Rusalka for 1 black is a 1/1 spirit. Pay a black, sacrifice a creature, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Thought Picker Witch for 1 black is a 1/1 human wizard where we can pay 1 colorless, sacrifice a creature, look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library, then remove 1 of them from the game. Lampad of Death's Vigil for 1 and a black is a 1/3 enchantment creature nymph. We can pay 1, sacrifice a creature, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Dark Privilege for 1 and a black is an enchantment where we can enchant a creature, it gets +1/+1. But more importantly, we can sacrifice a creature to regenerate enchanted creature. So we can use this on our commander if we wanted. When it comes to damage over time, we're going to start with Zulaport Cutthroat for 1 and a black. It's a 1/1 human rogue ally. Whenever Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. A lot of our creatures are going to be dying, so this creature is an essential part of the deck. Falconwrath Noble for 3 and a black is a 2/2 vampire that has flying. Whenever Falconwrath Noble or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now this can be for our creatures or our opponent's creatures. Sir Conrad the Grim for 3 and 2 black is a 5/4 human knight. Whenever another creature dies or a creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield or a creature leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. We can pay 1 and a black. Each player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. Vindictive Vampire for 3 and a black is a 2/3 vampire. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. All these cards are going to be very essential to how we're going to deal damage over time to our opponents. When it comes to making tokens, this deck is really good at it. So we can have Genesis Chamber for 2 colorless. It's an artifact. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if Genesis Chamber is untapped, that creature's controller creates a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. Weaponcraft Enthusiast for 2 and a black is a 0/1 Aetherborn Artificer with Fabricate 2. Fabricate is, when this creature enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, or create 2 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. We're going to choose the 2 colorless 1/1 servo tokens. Now this card is so good for the deck. Desecrated Tomb for 3 colorless is an artifact. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. This counts each creature that leaves your graveyard with our commander's wording. So it's not just a one-time trigger, it's for each creature that leaves our graveyard. Orzhov Enforcer for 1 and a black is a 1/2 human rogue. It has Death Touch and Afterlife for 1. Afterlife is, when this creature dies, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. This has been the $20 mono black commander deck. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, you will probably enjoy my other videos that I make, so stay till the end and I'll give you some recommended videos. Or you can go through my playlist, and I have a bunch of videos for deck techs that are budget friendly, and you will most likely enjoy those as well. If you would like to further support the channel, I would really recommend picking up some of our merch, or you can buy any of the cards in the deck or the whole deck with the links below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.